What big world events do you remember from the time you were growing up?
Well, I sort of remember World War II in the not when it started really, but I guess because Dad's had relatives in Germany who listened to the newscasts about the war, World War II, and I remember, I guess when it was over, I remember these big groups of airplanes flying over the farm there. I guess they were taking those bombers out to the desert to store them after the war. So they'd be big formations of airplanes fly over.
Hmm.
And I remember uh, the Korean War. I can remember all these wars. Korean War.
For World War II, do you remember like your dad was nervous about it, about his family, or what did he?
Well, I don't remember too much in that regard. I remember a little bit because they didn't hear from him, but other than that, not too much.
Yeah.
I think we had to play. I think we even in the middle of Iowa we had to practice blackouts.
In school.
No, at home
Oh.
because it'd have to be at night. Blackouts at night.
Mm-hmm. So what would you do to practice?
Well, I guess you'd have to get rid of the lights or close the blinds or something. And of course, I remember the rationing. You had, things so you could buy sugar or flour, or maybe not flour, meat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only buy, pretty hard to buy tires and gasoline.
Hmm.
So I remember a few of those things a little bit. And after the war, we'd send packages to Germany, food like coffee and sugar, and I don't know what all we put in care packages and send it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, in the Korean War, other than that, big events, maybe there weren't too many big ones. Remember the election of Truman beating Dewey, and I think some papers like the Chicago Tribune had Dewey winning, even printed the paper. But Truman won, surprise
Mm-hmm.
winner that
Mm-hmm.
election, whatever year that would have been. 48, I think it was.
So you just would have been 11.
Right. And Truman did come to I think they had the plowing contest there in Stewart, Iowa. I think Dad went to that. I didn't go, but Dad went to it, where Truman spoke at that event.
Mm-hmm.
He was when he was campaigning.
You actually saw him, or your dad did?
My dad, yeah, I didn't
Yes.
go. And I don't know how long in my childhood is this going to go?
You can talk about other big world events if you want.
No, I mean, is this up through college or not?
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I remember when Kennedy won. I guess that was my first time I voted
Mm-hmm.
in 1960 when Kennedy was elected. So I voted absentee because I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
So those mostly the world events going on in those days.
Yeah. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I guess I never really had a goal to be anything in particular. I'm still, as we say, yeah, I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I was one of those people. I've talked to other people that never did have a specific thing I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like when I just went to college just to be, because I didn't want to. Well, I didn't really know. I did end up taking geology mainly because I liked archaeology. But at Iowa State where I went, they didn't really have a program for that, so I took geology.
Hmm.
Only just because I was interested in that subject, not that I would work in it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And what else did you study?
I got another degree in industrial administration, which would be like you'd be a plant manager or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did use either one of the degrees directly. I just eventually went to work for the Department of the Army, federal government here in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
In supply control, we handled construction equipment for the Army.
Mm-hmm. Did you like doing that kind of work?
Yeah, it was a pretty good job for me. Interesting, and it was a good job for me.
Yeah. What inventions do you most remember?
Well, I guess the ones that affected would be television. Not an invention, but when it became popular, like in Iowa there, out on the farm, late 40s, early 50s, before many people had a television.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, like the hardware store in town, they'd have a TV in the window. People stand outside watching TV. or go inside in the wintertime, watch TV. Or some of the neighbors would have TV. We'd go to the neighbors on Saturday night to watch wrestling or whatever. And that was a big event. Finally we got our own TV.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing. After you got TV, you spent most evenings, you knew every program from after the news was over at 6 o'clock till the news was on at 10 o'clock. All those hour programs, picked out the ones you liked, and so you had your TV scheduled every day of the week. Monday you watch this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, and so on.
What do you remember? Some of the shows you watched that you really liked?
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think of that one we used to watch. Of course, we watched wrestling. Let's see. There was one that they did the songs. What was that called? They would play songs. I can't remember what that show was called.
Like a variety show style?
Well, more singing. The variety, I think, was Milton Berle show. Of course, later on, we had the westerns, a lot of the westerns, Gunsmoke and all those western shows.
Mm-hmm.
Bonanza and Big Valley and what were they all? The Little House on the Prairie, what's that? Oh, man, I can't even remember the name of some of these things. The Waltons,
Mm-hmm.
family show.
Yeah. How old would you have been when you got the TV?
I'm not exactly sure when we got it, about 1950 or so. So I'd have been, 13 or 14 years old probably.
Yeah.
And of course we farmed with horses. We got our tractor, first tractor in about 1952.
Mm-hmm.
1950 also.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an invention, but the invention mostly with farming. Farming did a lot of different things. Originally, a lot of hand labor, and then more mechanic. We used to pick the corn by hand, put up the hay more or less by hand, but then they got the balers for hay and corn pickers. So it became more mechanized on the farm. A lot of new inventions going on even up till today.
Mm-hmm.
Got the combines, and used to pick the corn in ears of corn. Now the combine shells it out in the field, and so you used to have shelled corn.
Mm-hmm.
Used to thrash the oats with a thrashing crew. Take a big crew, several farmers get together, and one of the farmers would have a thrash machine. They would go around, move from one farm to the other, harvest the oats crop. They would all pitch together and work on each farm until they got it all done.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just use the combine. They're not too much oats grown in there in Iowa anymore anyway, but mostly corn and beans.
Mm. Did you like doing the farm work?
Oh yeah, I pretty well liked it. Yeah.
Any other inventions?
I don't know about inventions. Of course, we didn't have a telephone. We didn't have a telephone until I went to college, and when my sister went to kindergarten, I think they had to have a telephone for her, and no indoor plumbing. We didn't have electricity till 1949. So we used the kerosene lamps for lighting and wood burning stove for cooking and heating, and later on we got a fuel oil stove, which was cleaner and easier. Then finally we got electricity, got a refrigerator, got an electric stove, and running water, just cold water for a while. Then later we got a bath. When I was in college, got a bathroom installed and hot water. And in other words, there were a lot of things invented which we didn't have for a long time.
Were there any that you were really anxious to get, that you were like really happy when your parents got them?
No, I don't think so. I can't think of any.
You were just like, oh, okay, they have this now.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Because I guess you're used to the old way, and sometimes you resist the new changes.
Right.
One story I always tell about, this was later in life, but when I was married, I had a wood-burning stove put in the basement. I called my mother and said, hey, I got a wood-burning stove in the basement, all thrilled with that. And she said, well, her response was, well, we got rid of ours a long time ago. Because of there's a lot of dirt, bringing the wood in and taking the ashes out. A lot of problems with dirt in the house, so much cleaner if you got an electric stove and a furnace or a furnace or whatever.
Right. You're more nostalgic for it than your mom?
I think so, maybe, yeah. What do you think? Yeah, you think about your parents more conservative, but a lot of times they embraced a lot of those things pretty quickly.
Yeah, it sounds like your whole house changed in just a few years, really.
Right.
With electricity, TV, tractor, all at the same time.
Right, electricity made a lot of difference.
Yeah, because even in the winter, would you stay up would you go to bed with the sun in the winter? No, it would be too early.
Well, yeah, it'd be too early. You had the lamps, you had the kerosene lamps.
Yeah.
In the summer times when we went to bed early.
To get up
when I say early, like instead of, if the sun went down late, instead of lighting a lamp, you just go to bed.
Yeah.
That would be the short time when it was real long days in the summertime. In the winter, when it got dark early, you'd have a lamp, and then you'd stay up, I don't know how late, but.
Yeah.
Indoor, more playing games. In the wintertime, you'd be indoors. Summertime, you might be outdoors till it got dark.
Yeah. What's different about growing up today from when you were growing up?
Oh, brother. Of course, I grew up out in the country where there would, we didn't see many other people. Especially during the summer when school was out. When school was in, of course, you'd go to school every day of the week, but I guess it'd be just the technology with the iPhones and all that today. We didn't have that sort of stuff.
Right.
We'd get outside and make up our own stuff, play cowboys and Indians or whatever. go exploring the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
along the creek or whatever in the summertime,
Yeah.
checking out whatever animals we could find. And
Did you mostly hung out with your brothers, or did you have like other?
yeah, pretty well. I mean, the neighbors, we didn't have too many other kids close, so there weren't too much interaction with the neighbor kids. A little bit, but not much.
Yeah. When you were a teenager, what did you do for fun?
Watch television. I don't know. Teenager, I guess TV was a big thing.
Yeah.
We play games, of course, in school, sports. I played football, did some track, threw the shot put and discus, did a little bit of running.
Yep.
Movie once in a great while. Roller skating once in a great while. Usually some school program or something.
Where did you go roller skating?
In Creston, they had a roller rink in Creston,
Uh-huh.
which was about 10 miles away.
Yeah. Did you ever get into trouble as a teenager?
I don't think so. You mean with my parents?
Yeah.
Not too
or
much.
with anyone?
Not too much. Or I think my dad's, I guess, my dad smoked, so we'd always want to try to steal a few cigarettes and smoke them. Been in trouble with that. Oh, and I think I told that other story about building fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fire, yeah. Playing with matches. I got in trouble there.
Yeah.
And then one time, supposedly, my older brother and I dug a post hole and put my younger brother Max in this hole. And I guess he couldn't get out himself, but so when Mom had to go out and get him out, I think we got in a little trouble for that.
It was that deep that he couldn't climb out?
I guess so. He was pretty young.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we could have dug too big of a hole at our age.
Right.
Those are mostly the things we got in trouble for, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I got in trouble one time. Let's see. We're supposed to, for Red Cross, we're going to take some money. I think it was a quarter. Parents gave us a quarter to give to Red Cross at school.
Uh-huh.
Fun drive. Well, I took my quarter and I bought a marble with it.
Uh-huh.
So I got in trouble for that.
Yeah. Just too tempting to have that quarter.
You're right. A lot of money for a marble, too.
Yeah. When did you learn how to drive?
Well, on the farm, you drove pretty early. I remember we didn't have a tractor, but even some neighbors would come in there like at thrashing time. They'd let you sit on their lap and steer this tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this old 1936 Ford, had this gear stiff on the floor. But I remember Dad letting us, I think I was probably 12 years old, maybe or less, and drive it out in the field. Go bouncing, jerking up the hill, put it in low gear and jump.
Yeah.
And on the road, I remember probably when I was 14, we had that 49 Ford then. Like we'd come home from church, why Dad'd stop about a few miles from home and say, "Here, drive the rest of the way home."
Yeah, so your dad kind of taught you?
Yeah.
Did your mom know how to drive?
Well, she knew how to drive, but she never did have a license. She would drive, but without a license. Only in the neighborhood, I guess she would drive.
So when people first started having cars, did they had to how'd they learn how to drive to take their driving test?
That's a good question.
Just practice wherever?
Well, sure, I guess so. Just like like when I went to get my license at 16, you go up there and drive for the guy, but you didn't have a license. How'd you learn how to drive without a license?
Right.
You didn't have the permits those days.
Right.
So they knew you drove somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But most kids learn how to drive somewhere or the other.
Yeah. But you never had a car, right?
No, never did own a car. That 49 Ford, we kept it. That was sort of my car when I was at home. I used to drive it to work and stuff.
Mm-hmm. When's the last time you drove, you think?
Well, that's a good question. I had a license till I was 26.
Okay.
So that was probably, I imagine that was about the last time I drove.
And you had to give up your license? Or
Right.
You,
Yeah, they were back.
did you choose to, or you just...
Yeah, pretty well chose to, yeah. I never went to try to get it renewed.
Yeah. You just felt like it was time, like
Right.
your vision was bad enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel, in the daytime I felt safe, but at night I never did feel safe, secure at driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was your graduation from high school like?
Do I remember that?
Do you remember that day? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
sort of. I think I do, yeah. But I don't remember too much about it. I know we had caps and gowns and walked across and got our diploma
And it was at the school?
at the high school, yeah. And I believe, that very night, I think the next day we left for what they call skip day. We went to Kansas City for a few days. Like most of the senior class, not everybody went, and I think that night I actually went with Leo Powers after that ceremony. Went and spent the night with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Kansas City the next day
Mm-hmm.
for about 3 days. Skip day, they call it skip day.
Yeah. Had you ever been to Kansas City before?
No.
Did you take any vacations when you were younger?
No.
So that was one of your first vacations?
I guess you'd call it a vacation.
Did you do you want to travel when you were younger, or you didn't really think about it?
I didn't think too much about it.
Yeah.
Not in particular. Pretty much of a homebody.
Yeah.
I think we'd gone to see a doctor about my eyes in Omaha. That'd probably be the longest trip. That's about 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about as far as I was away from home.
When did you how old were you for that appointment? When you were worried about your eyes?
I don't know. Teenager. 14, 15 years old, probably 13, 14.
And you noticed your vision was bad.
Well, yeah, I think they knew. Yeah, I mean they knew. Some of my uncles went out to this same doctor.
Oh, okay.
Is the reason we went. So I wore glasses from the time I started first grade.
Yeah.
And the fact that I had uncles with bad vision, so I mean they pretty well knew all along.
Right, and Uncle Max too.
Right.
All right, last question for today. What dreams and goals did you have for your life when you graduated?
Oh, brother. Like I say, I didn't really think too much about the future, I guess. Played it by ear. I never liked to quit school in the spring or start school, I didn't want to quit school in the spring and didn't want to start in the fall. I guess because when I was in school, I was enjoying school and being with the friends. But then the summer off, I got used to that and didn't want to go back to school. So I knew if I was going to college, so I went ahead and signed up for college and registered for college, so I knew I was all set to go in the fall. I'd be going into college, and I didn't really have any set goals or anything. I guess always wanted to be married and have a family and a house and all that stuff. I think I desired that, but that was not an immediate goal. I guess put that off for a while. Is this still recording?
Yep. All right.
Did you get hurt, Dorothy?